Hello, everybody. All right, welcome to the Mikestand. Today is Friday, June the 27th, 2025. Hope everybody's had a good week as we, of course, wrap things up this week. Of course, we're going to give people a chance to come in before we get started. Hopefully, everybody's having a good day today. Saw a couple of course, saw some stuff from Colombia today in terms of the cartoon front. Saw a Crazy Cat cartoon and Scrappy and even a Color Rhapsody among stuff I saw today. Saw kind of a Merry Melodies one with the old Snidely Whiplash, kind of damsel in distress kind of feel for it as well. So, anyways, as I said, we're just waiting on more people to show up. So, again, a friendly reminder to everybody, of course, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. I'm just waiting for more people to show up here before we get started. Fantastic journey in history. Go on, Dragon Balls. Play with Dragon Balls. Everyone they want to know. As you climb on board, just far away. Fantastic journey in history. Alright, so let's see. So we're at 2.5 minutes here. We'll give it a few more. We'll give it about the 3 minute mark and then we will get going here. Before we start talking about what's on tap for tonight. Um, anyways, fantastic journey. All right, well, we're almost at 3 minute mark, so I guess I'll talk about what's on tap for tonight now. So, got a couple articles I'm going to go over from Bleeding Fool, or Bleeding, is it Bleeding Fool or Bleeding Cold? Kind of hard to tell. There's two. Let's see. Bleeding Fool. That's right. All right. So we got a couple of articles, as I said, we're gonna do tonight. Both of them comics related. Both of them from Bleeding Fool. So apparently now it has they're announcing that J. Michael Straczynski is returning to Marvel's Spider-Man comics. So I guess we'll talk more about that, obviously. And J. Scott Campbell's art, and according to at least to Avi Green, one of the guys we follow quite a bit here. According to him, J. Scott Campbell's comic art is terrific, but it's too good for variant covers. So, giving his little opinion piece on that. So we'll probably those two plus, of course, we got the wrestling wrap up. We'll be looking, of course, to last night's special edition of Collision, as well as a special edition of Ring of Honor. TNA Impact was on last night, so we'll get caught up on all the action there. Be looking ahead to tonight's SmackDown, as recorded earlier today, coming from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, the same place they're going to be doing tomorrow night's Night of Champions. We'll look ahead to that as well. And then we'll wrap things up with This Day in Each History. So now we're coming up on, we're almost at the 5 minute mark, so I guess I might as well get into the content here. And again, one more friendly reminder for you guys, if you guys haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage. It'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with all that being said, let's now get into the material at hand. Alrighty then, so okay, J. Michael Straczynski returns to Marvel's Spider-Man comics. Article by Avi Green published yesterday, the 26th. So let's see what's going on here. So, comic book movie is gushing over the announcement. One of the most overrated writers in comics, TV, and film is coming back to write a story featuring the superhero. J. Michael Straczynski did no favors for back in the day. And the excuse here is that it's a miniseries set in Spider-Man's past. Now, of course, as we all know, Avi, as many are very critical of many of the current writers, artists, and editors at the big two, both DC and Marvel. So let's see what he has to say here. And this is referring to the, I guess, comic book movie article here that he's referring to. J. Michael Straczynski, one of the most impactful writers in Spider-Man's history, returns to the Webbed Wonders world this October with Spider-Man Torn, a 5-issue limited series. Straczynski will be joined by acclaimed artist Pere Perez, TVA. And then as the article continues here, the prolific writer is known for his influential work throughout the Marvel Universe, including one of the most celebrated runs of Amazing Spider-Man. His stint on the series eventually got bogged down in editorial interference. Spidey joined the Avengers, found himself at the center of a convoluted crossover called The Other, quote unquote, and eventually made a deal with the devil in the hugely controversial, quote unquote, One More Day arc. All right, I need to go off camera here for a quick moment, so I'm going to put some music on real quick here, and then I'll be right back. But I do need to. Yeah, but I'll be right back. All right, I'm back now. So, anyways, continuing on with the article here. So, J. Michael Straczynski also intended to make Peter Parker the father of Gwen Stacy's children, but was forced into pivoting to Norman Osborn. In parentheses, the storyline has since been retconned and forgotten about, unparenthesed. Despite that, fans have hoped for J. Michael Straczynski, to make his return to Spidey storytelling. Now he's back with an unforgettable Spider-Man saga that's perfect for all fans, but this time he's digging into a very different part of Spidey history. So now this is Avi's response to what we just read. What fans, I wonder? Not this Spider fan. And it's insulting to the intellect when news outlets like these keep invoking, quote unquote, the fandom without any hard evidence. And the site's writer weaves pure comedy gold when he acknowledges the aforementioned storylines were embarrassments and simultaneously, I don't think, quote unquote, the other was a crossover as Avengers Disassembled was. Um, it was just one of several stories from Spidey at the time, and not a good one. Was since past actually forgotten, though? Only in the sense it's not worth remembering, based on what an atrocity it was. And the sex scene panel between Gwen and Norman alone was embarrassing. Was embarrassingly bad because of how forced and contrived it was. Also note how Joe Quesada, who was influential in those decisions, goes unmentioned here, their admittance of editorial interference notwithstanding. Hmm. Let's see. And Avi continues here. I never asked for J. Michael Straczynski to return to Spidey any more than any other writer who's let down Marvel fandom via petty opposition to the Spider marriage. Assigning J. Michael Straczynski to a title set in Spidey's past is no excuse either. And anybody who continues to buy comics written by somebody as pretentious and self-important as J. Michael Straczynski is only furthering a sad problem in comicdom. All Marvel fans who recognize why J. Michael Straczynski was bad for Spidey in the long run would do well to avoid whatever he has in store here at all costs. And quote unquote influential and quote unquote impactful only in the most negative sense. Most of what J. Michael Straczynski wrote after Spidey was even less significant. And it could be said he's long become a has-been, if he ever even was successful in comics writing before, which he decidedly wasn't. All right. So there goes the first article we're going through tonight. Again, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream, see if we can get some more friendly people to engage, it'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I will try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. All right, so let's get to the second article of the evening. Um, this one right here. So, okay, so J. Scott Campbell's comic art is terrific, but it's too good for variant covers. Article by Avi Green published today. Avi's been quite busy the last couple of days, hasn't he? Pinning at least a couple of articles here. I think I'll take the opportunity to highlight some of J. Scott Campbell's latest art, featuring 3 examples he's illustrated for the new Marvel swimsuit special of Mary Jane Watson, Black Cat, and Rogue. I figured some of you at least might want to take a bit of a look here. Now, let's be clear. Campbell is a talented artist, all right, and still is, in over 3 decades, since he debuted, which is surely also more than can be said about Frank Miller at this point, recalling I saw some Wolverine art Miller did a few years ago that was very mediocre, and I hesitate to think what he'd do if given the same assignment Campbell's gotten for the new Marvel swimsuit special. That was Mary Jane Watson. Here's, of course, Felicia Hardy, the Black Cat. And you thought cats didn't like to get wet. uh, but as I've argued before, illustrations like these, if anything, shouldn't be put on variant covers, but rather hung on walls in homes and galleries. And instead, we have an example of something that, if bought by speculators, will quite possibly be stored away in dark vaults, um, almost entirely obscured from the public eye. And it could even be argued the speculators are demonstrating a form of shame that they even own this stuff if they keep it locked away from view. Why, whether or not these are mass production paintings, or they even are they even that valuable that burglars would pilfer them? I don't think so. Hmm. Is Rogue the girl? Giving new meaning to you can look but you can't touch, because it'd be literally quite deadly to touch her, unless you like the idea of having your essence sucked right out of you. See, all I know that it's regrettable when talented artists keep letting themselves be taken advantage of for the wrong kind of projects. Um, and even Stanley Lau's art germ, as we've come to know him, one of one of those um, is one of those. Um, Seriously, professional artists have to start speaking up and addressing challenging queries as to whether it sits well with them. Their artwork is being produced for joke marketing. Alrighty then. So that's all we got for the stories tonight. I think I'm going to go ahead and move right into the you know into the wrestling wrap up here. And if you can help out by liking and sharing, if you haven't already, if you guys can help out by liking and sharing, see if we can get some more friendly people in here to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions, and I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with that being said, let's move on to the wrestling wrap up. Get the material here. And of course, we're going to first off go back to last night, as we actually have a few things to talk about from last night. Last night on Thursday night there. First, I'm going to look at last night's Collision, as last night was a special edition of Collision, airing on TNT with Nigel McGuinness and Tony Schiavone. Commentary coming from the Access Showwave Center in in um, in Kent, Washington. The opening match saw the patriarchy of Christian Cage and Nick Wayne defeat Big Bill and Brian Keith as they look to become the first quote unquote father son world tag team champions. They were eventually confronted by the Hurt Syndicate, basically telling them, "Hey, don't get in our way." So, and the next match saw Brody King team with Templario to defeat the Don Callis family duo of Hechicero and Rocky Romero. Megan Bain defeated Vert Vixen. Vert Vixen, who will also be in Texas this weekend for the Spark Joshi show coming up on Sunday. Adam Cole successfully defended his TNT title against Josh Alexander. Let's see now. Queen Aminata defeated Sky Blue in a singles match. In a battle of the Kyles, Kyle Fletcher of the Don Callis family defeated Kyle O'Reilly of the Paragon, as the Don Callis family Paragon feud continues to rage on. And basically, in a dark match after the show, Bryan Danielson made his in-ring return, albeit, there are people wondering if this is going to be a permanent thing or not, but he's even commented that it's not, in which, with help from the Paragon of Adam Cole, Kyle Riley, Roderick Hunt, and, of course, Daniel Garcia, he defeated Max Caster in 8 seconds and another one of Max Caster's open challenges. So that all happened on Collision last night. Now moving on to Ring of Honor. Move on to Ring of Honor. And last night's Ring of Honor was actually taped about a week ago, a little over a week ago, as Ring of Honor and CMLL did their Global Wars show from Arena Mexico in Mexico City, Federal District, Mexico. The opening match of the evening saw in a women's tag team match CMLL's Persephone team with former AEW World Women's Champion Thunder Rosa to defeat current Ring of Honor Women's World Champion Athena and current Ring of Honor World Women's Television Champion Red Velvet. In a Ring of Honor World Television Title Proving Ground match, in which if the challenger wins or lasts 10 minutes, will earn an opportunity to challenge for the Ring of Honor World Television Title in a match between CMLL's Titan and Nick Wayne of the Patriarchy. Titan did, in fact, last the 10 minutes, going to a draw, which will mean that he will have an opportunity to take on Nick Wayne for the television title. Bandito successfully defended the Ring of Honor World title against Mascara Dorada of CMLL. In a non-title match, CMLL's the legend Blue Panther, defeated Ring of Honor Pure Champion Lee Moriarty in a regular match, even though Moriarty had Shane Taylor Promotions involved. And supposedly, from what I understand, from what I've heard, I believe Bryan Danielson actually saved Blue Panther from a 4-on-1 beatdown after the match. So that's all we got for, of course, Ring of Honor. That was on Ring of Honor television last night. Now moving on to to what happened on last night's TNA, as of course they're continuing their march towards Slammiversary coming up, a Slammiversary event coming up on Sunday, July 20th, 3 weeks from this Sunday, obviously. I'm on the cursor here. On last night's Impact on Access TV, coming from the UPMC Event Center in Moon Township, Pennsylvania, with Tom Hannafan and Matthew Rainwell all on commentary. And a prelude for the upcoming World Tag Team title matches coming up at Slammiversary. Zachary Wentz, one half of the Rascals, with his partner Trey Miguel in his corner, defeated Ryan Nemeth with his brother Nick Nemeth in a singles match, in a one-on-one singles match. And a number one contendership battle royal for the TNA Knockout basically determined the next challenger to Masha Slamovich. Ash by Elegance outlasted quite a few other names in the Knockouts division to become the number one contender, and I believe she'll probably be getting that shot. I think at Slammiversary, I believe, but we'll check that a little bit here. In a call to arms match, Mustafa Ali defeated John Schuyler. After the match, apparently Ali was starting to go after Schuyler when Schuyler was saved by the debuting Cedric Alexander, former WWE superstar. In a tag team match, the Hardys, Jeff and Matt Hardy, defeated the Northern Armory of Judas Icarus and Travis Williams with Eric Young there. In a 2-on-1 handicap match, TNA X Division champion Moose, in his preparations for his upcoming X Division title defense against Leon Slater, took out Jake Painter and Shane Saber. And the main event saw Mike Santana beat AJ Francis in a street fight. So now that we're all caught up on what happened on last night's stuff, let's look ahead to what's going down tonight, tonight and tomorrow night, as WWE in particular, as we've been talking about, is in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia this weekend. For tonight they'll be in SmackDown. Tonight SmackDown will be held in Riyadh, and tomorrow night will be the Night of Champions pay-per-view. So here's what to look forward to on tonight's episode on USA Network with Michael Cole and Wade Barrett on commentary. The opening match will see Jimmy Uso take on JC Mateo with Solo Sikoa in JC Mateo's corner. Zelina Vega will defend the WWE Women's United States title against Julia. Andrade teams with Ray Fenix to take on DIY of Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. The Street Profits, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford, defend the WWE Tag Team titles against the Wyatt Six duo of Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis, with, of course, Eric Rowan, Nikki Cross, and Uncle Howdy in their corner. Then the last women's standing match, Tiffany Stratton defends the women's title against Nia Jax. And, of course, I will go over the results on Monday when we come back with our regular news broadcast. Let's see. And, of course, tomorrow night, going into tomorrow night, coming up tomorrow night, as it were, WWE will be in Riyadh for Night of Champions. And coming up for that particular show, that'll be on Netflix, of course. Slated for the show, a couple matches that were added this last week due to the cancellation of the Intercontinental title match that we talked about yesterday. So, in a street fight, Rhea Ripley will be taking on Raquel Rodriguez, one-on-one. In a singles match, Sami Zayn will be taking on Karrion Kross. The finals of the Queen of the Ring and King of the Ring will be taking place, as in the Queen of the Ring finals, Asuka, who just made her return from after a lengthy absence due to a knee injury, will be taking on Jade Cargill, with, of course, the winner, I believe, not only becoming the Queen of the Ring, but also, I think, possibly earning a women's title shot at whichever title. I'm not sure about that part. And in the King of the Ring final match, you have two former Legacy stablemates. Third generation star Randy Orton taking on second generation star Cody Rhodes. It should promise to be. And in then there are only two title matches for this particular show. First one for the United States title, in which Jacob Fatu will be defending the United States title against Solo Sikoa. And then in an undisputed WWE title match, John Cena will be taking on CM Punk. Let's see now. We're up to just 32 minutes here. So, all right. So let's also talk about some of the other upcoming pay-per-view events coming up over the next few weeks. Here is, of course, this is all happening this Saturday. So next weekend there won't be any big events, but then the following week, the weekend of the 11th, 12th, and 13th. That's going to be another big weekend in terms of wrestling pay-per-views. As I do believe on the 11th, Ring of Honor will be hosting its Super Card of Honor from Arlington, Texas. Let's see if they have any matches announced for that yet. That will be coming from the Esports Stadium, Arlington. And actually, there have been 4 matches signed already for the 4 matches signed for Super Card of Honor coming up on July the 11th from the Esports Stadium, Arlington, in Arlington, Texas. Lee Moriarty will be defending the Pure title against CMLL legend Blue Panther. It's already being stated that the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles will be on the lines as the Sons of Texas, Sammy Guevara and Dustin Rhodes, will be facing a mystery team. They have not yet announced the team that will be challenging them for that title. Bandito will be defending the Ring of Honor World title against Konosuke Takeshita, just coming off of a recent loss to Oleg Boltin of Japan, losing the New Japan Never Openweight title. And then, at least slated as the main event thus far, the match for the Ring of Honor women's world title match. Athena will be defending the women's world title against Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa looks to knock Athena off from her, as she's been one of the longest reigning. I think she is the longest reigning Ring of Honor World Women's Champion in its history. So Thunder Rosa is looking to put an end to that historic reign Athena's looking to continue it. So we are going to wait and see how that all plays out. So now, with that being said, of course, now let's move on to the 12th, as AEW will be having its all-in pay-per-view. As soon as I find that, all in Texas, which will be coming to everybody from Globe Life Field in Arlington, Texas, on Saturday, July the 12th. Of course, they did announce last week the men's that there will be a men's and women's casino gauntlet match with the respective winners of the match. I believe getting shots at the respective titles. The men's casino gauntlet winner will be getting a shot at the AW World title, and then the women's casino gauntlet winner will be getting a shot at the. Now, I understand it's a gauntlet match, meaning that what's liable to happen is you have a person start off, and then you have two people starting off, and then more people will come in until somebody is pinned or submitted. Getting the this past week on past week's Dynamite, of course, they had 2 4-ways to determine who would get the what is considered the prize pick, which is the number 1 pick for a gauntlet match, which means you are guaranteed a shot to if you can pin the first person you get in there quickly, then you move on, then you win the match. But Mark Briscoe is set to be the number 1 member, the first member to the men's casino gauntlet match, and Chris Statlander is the women's first entrant. So let's see now. So also in basically a unification match to establish the AW Unified title, AW International Champion Kenny Omega will be facing his longtime rival, AW Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada, with the winner becoming the new and first AEW Unified Champion. The unification of the 2 belts there. You also have Toni Storm defending the AW Women's World title against Mercedes Moné at All In. And the main event is Jon Moxley of the Death Riders defending the AEW World title against Adam Page. So now let's take a look at what WWE will be doing that weekend, because they've got quite a bit of a slate going on that weekend as well. So let's take a look at what they'll be cooking up for their fans this week, for that weekend, the weekend of the 11th, 12th, 13th. So on the 12th, they actually have 2 events on the 12th of significance. First off, from Atlanta, Georgia, the NXT brand will be hosting an event from Center Stage Theater in Atlanta. Center Stage Theater is the old home of where Saturday Night used to air. It used to be would be taped and aired. Let's see. Basically the home of the former WCW, of course, and Georgia Championship Wrestling. The only match signed for that event for NXT's the Great American Bash, Obafemi is set to defend his NXT title on that night. His opponent has yet to be determined. So now, moving on to the other big event coming up on Saturday. Saturday the 12th of July on NBC from the State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. The one match that's signed for that show is Gunther taking on Goldberg in a WWE World Heavyweight title match. This is planning to be Goldberg's retirement match. This is also something where it has a lot of people scratching their heads why they made this a world title match, because it doesn't seem to make sense. This is supposedly going to be Goldberg's retirement match, his one last match. So I don't know if the WWE, I don't doubt very seriously if WWE is going to put it, but if they put a title on him, he's got to wrestle at least one more time, unless he's just planning on, giving on like vacating the belt at that point, which is kind of stupid. But anyways, like I said, if you guys haven't already, you guys can help out by liking and sharing the stream. See if we get some more friendly people to engage. That'd be appreciated. Also, if anything here grabs your attention, feel free to comment and or ask questions. I'll try to answer the questions to the best of my ability. So, with that being said, now we have one more event to. Well, I guess we'll also talk about also talk a little bit about the Slammiversary event, because I think they do have more events coming up on the 20th. But with that, on Sunday, July the 13th, coming from the State Farm Arena as well in Atlanta, Georgia, WWE's Evolution pay-per-view will be taking place. Evolution is the all-women's pay-per-view. The first Evolution pay-per-view, I believe, took place back in 2018, in which it was just an entire pay-per-view just devoted to the women's roster on all three, on the Raw brand, SmackDown, and NXT. The one match that is already signed for this event, of course, Jacy Jayne will be taking on the NXT. Will be defending the NXT Women's title against Jordynne Grace, with more matches. Now, initially, there was some talk that they were going to possibly have Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez defending the women's tag titles against the Bella Twins, but with Morgan's shoulder injury, going to keep her out for quite a bit. Now they're scrambling to figure out what they're going to do with the card, and with the women's tag titles. So now we have all of that. So now let's look at the upcoming Slammiversary pay-per-view from TNA, as that will be coming up on Sunday, January the 20th. Sunday, January the 20th. So on Sunday, January the 20th, this is I get, okay. Or Sunday, July 20th, sorry. Coming from the UBS Arena in Elmont, New York. Already signed for this match in a four-way ladder match for the TNA World Tag Team Championships. The champions, the Nemeth brothers, Nick and Ryan Nemeth, will be defending the titles in a four-way ladder match against former champions, the Hardy Boys, Jeff and Matt Hardy, three-time champions, the Rascals, Trey Miguel and Zach Wentz, and First Class, AJ Francis and Casey Navarro. Moose will be defending the TNA X Division title against the youngest in charge, Leon Slater. And in a match for the TNA World title, Trick Williams will be trying to fend off the challenge of former champion Joe Hendry. Basically, this is Joe Hendry's contractual rematch. So that's all we have for the wrestling wrap-up. So now what we'll do now, of course, is we'll move on to this day in each history. As today is Friday, July 27th, 2025. So let's get ready to take a look back at this day in each history. History! So 85, 2005, 2010, and 2020. All right. So first off, I'm going to head back 40 years ago. As on this date, 40 years ago today, back in 1985, the 35th and final issue of Arion, Lord of Atlantis, went on sale on this date back in 1985. It sold for 75 cents, was 32 pages. The story was The Shadow of Evil, written by Paul Kupperberg with Jan Duursema doing the art, or Jan Duursema. Timothy Harkins doing the lettering, and Robert K. LaRose doing the coloring. On this date, 40 years ago today, the 35th and final issue of Arion, Lord of Atlantis, went on sale on newsstands on this date back in 1985. So now moving ahead to the year 2005, 20 years ago today. On this date, 20 years ago today, the night after the Vengeance pay-per-view that year, in the aftermath of the Vengeance pay-per-view, WWE held its Monday Night Raw event from the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California. The matches included in the main event Hulk Hogan teaming with John Cena and Shawn Michaels to defeat Chris Jericho, Christian, and Tyson Tomko. Kurt Angle defeated Ric Flair, and the opening match of the evening saw the Big Show and Gene Snitsky or Big Show defeating Gene Snitsky. So, and then they had a draft lottery going on, in which I believe that might have been the time that Rob Van Dam and Big Show might have been drafted to SmackDown. So that all happened on this date 20 years ago. WWE held a Monday Night Raw event for the Arrowhead Pond in Anaheim, California. Now moving on to the next piece in each history as we move ahead to the year 2010. As on this date in the year 2010, which was 15 years ago, mind you, 15 years ago, Mary Shelley's Frankenhole, which was an American adult stop-motion animated television series, premiered on Adult Swim on this date back in 2010. So on this date back in 2010, William Street's Mary Shelley's Frankenhole premiered on Adult Swim on this date back in 2010. And finally, as soon as I grab it, finally, moving ahead to the year 2020, 5 years ago today. On this date, 5 years ago today, A1 Pictures Kaguya-sama Love is War, the second season of Kaguya-sama Love is War, completed its run on Japanese television. So on this date, 5 years ago today, the second season of Kaguya-sama Love is War completed its run on Japanese television. So with that, I thank everybody for being here tonight. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We'll be back here, of course, on Sunday with more Niche news. Also, um, also, well, actually, we'll be more Niche news on Monday. So on Sunday, we'll be starting our look at comics that went on sale in June of 1940. We're going to do comics that went on sale from DC. So with that, I thank everybody for being here, and I hope to see everybody back here on Sunday. Bye.